Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide. Now there will be no surprises that we're heading to Road Atlanta for this week's Daily Race C, given it's the new track just added to the game. But it was a bit of a surprise to learn that we're going to be in the Mazda Roadster touring car rather than something like Group 3 or Group 4. Wee while since we've kind of featured a road car, I guess, in Daily Race C, and certainly a long time since it was the Mazda Roadster touring car. I had to go all the way back to November 2020 on GT Sport at Suzuka for the last time this car was in Daily Race C. But in terms of the race construction, we've got 12 laps to get round, tyre at times 1, fuel at times 3. We're going to be on the racing hard tyres. There's no mandatory rules in terms of tyres or pit stops. BOP is on. It's a grid start with a false start check, I believe. Damage is light and slipstream is going to be on real. So yeah, I think it will be a grid start with a false start check. It normally is anytime we're in a road car or anytime we're in this car for sport mode. TC on 1 I think is better than no TC on at all, and you want to try and launch it in first gear as well. But more importantly than that, you're going to have a lot of cars very close proximity. Come down into this turn 1, try to avoid being on the outside. It's one of these corners, if you get bumped off onto the grass, it'll take you days to get back into onto the track and back into the race. And yeah, if you get bumped off at turn 1, you're probably going to lose 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 seconds, and yeah, that's going to be race over. So do whatever you can in your power to try not to be a victim of trying to go round the outside at turn 1. Easier said than done, I know. There's going to have to be some driver out there at the end of the day, but yeah, if you can avoid it, I certainly would try. There's no strategy for this one, as you might expect as well. Probably makes sense. We're in a road car. It's a 20-minute race. It was an 18-minute race actually. You know, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to have strategy in this one. So it's an all-out sprint. There's no fuel saving required. There's no tyre management required. You can just rev the nuts off this one, lap after lap after lap. And yeah, I think it will be an argy-bargy race though, because there's not a lot of slipstream given off by these cars. There's no strategy to try and make up positions. There's no fuel saving, so you've not got people kind of going deliberately slow at certain points. So making up positions in this one is going to be pretty difficult, and I think it will be quite an elbows out race. But the car is a lot of fun, the track is a lot of fun as well, so there's definitely a lot of potential for some fun. Maybe not good racing, but there definitely will be some potential for good fun. It's going to take about 18 minutes to finish this one. There was definitely scope to fire an extra lap in there, I think you would agree. Better to be closer to the 20-minute mark than not so close, I would say. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. There's not really much more I can drag out of this daily race and the settings that we've got for this one. There is a lap guide coming up. I'll give you my pearls of wisdom of how to get this car around here on a lap and what to avoid and such like in just a wee moment. But yeah, I think it will be a fun race, at least for a few days. I think the argy-barginess of it might be something that might put me off after a couple of days as well, because it's certainly, I can't imagine it's going to be anything other than just elbows out, lap after lap after lap. Luckily though, we do have the GTWS races that are going to be running this week as well. So we've got the Toyota Gazoo Cup 30 lapper around Fuji, that's going to be on Tuesday and Friday I believe. We've got the Spa 15 lap racing Group 3 on Wednesday and Saturday. I could be wrong with these dates. Definitely Wednesday and another date, and then we'll have the X 2019 around Trial Mountain, which I don't really fancy too much. I'm not sure whether that's going to be 30 laps or a kind of reduced version of the Nations Cup final, but that'll be running on Thursday and another day later on in the week as well, probably Thursday and Sunday maybe. But yeah, so there is some potential for variety of racing this week at least, and furthermore potential for variety in the live streaming as well. We'll definitely be kind of delving into all those races as the week progresses. But yeah, this one will be fun in the short term, but I suspect it will get increasingly more frustrating as the week goes on. But that's that for this race. Let's move into a lap guide. It's a 1:29.2. It's not exactly a spectacular lap. I know the super fast boys are doing mid 1 minute 27s, so we've still got a little bit of lap time to try and find. Certainly try to get into the 1 minute 28s. But for turn 1, I used the orange flash on the wall on the left hand side as my reference point. Now, I would exhibit caution into turn 1. It's one of these corners that invites you in, and the later you break them, there's lots and lots of time to be gained. But if you try to get a little bit too liberal with the braking points and decide to run wide like I'm about to do here, it's not just a case of losing a couple of seconds and getting back on the track. You're going to lose a lot of time. The nature of the corner, it's a kind of downhill off camber, you know, so going off at turn 1 is going to be a loss of at least 10 seconds until you get the car back on the track. We also managed to break our engine in that one as well. So next up is the very tricky sequence. I'm looking for the start of the curb on the left hand side of the track there. It's my kind of slowing down point. You've got a very fast flick to the right coming up. There's lots of curb there that you can use. We didn't actually do it very well on this instance. Keep the car to the left hand side. You're looking for the start of the curb. As the front of your car gets to the start of that curb, gently move the car to the right, and that should make sure you're on the right racing line to go through the right hander here at full throttle. Down here, full throttle, you've got the curb on the right hand side. Just as you're about to come to that, I come off the throttle, round about halfway down the curb, change down a gear, and then throw it in to the left hander with a lot of commitment. You have a lot of speed you can carry through this corner, a lot of time to be made up, but if you do run too wide, you can pick up a half-second penalty. So you're looking for the blue board on the grass on the left hand side. I think it's also at the 100 metre board as your reference. You might be braking just before that, or maybe 20 metres before that. There's a bit of camber coming into this right-hander uphill corner, which will help the car round. And this corner here is very tricky to try and find a reference point. I've not managed to find one yet myself. I kind of judge how much of that curb is left in front of me as my kind of reference braking point for the uphill right-hander. Very, very important corner, because the earlier you get on the throttle here, you carry this speed all the way down the back straight, and the best overtaking opportunity in this one as we come down towards the chicane. Now, there's not a lot of slipstream given off by these cars, so even if you do get a good run on the car in front, you're likely going to have to do a fairly decent outbraking manoeuvre, and it's fairly easy to defend as well. So yeah, overtaking will be pretty difficult. Now, I'm looking for the white line on the track there. I think it's at the 100 board. Just before that is where you want to be braking. Now, you do want to concentrate on getting the braking right, because you want to take the right line into the first part of the chicane, so you have a much better line for the second part, because again, it's one of these ones you get on the throttle nice and early. You carry that speed all the way down to the last few corners and over the start finish line. Now, if you do get it wrong, this is probably what's going to happen to you. Now, the track on the outside of the chicane seems to be incredibly slippy, and if you get the line slightly wrong, you're trying to make up the time through the second part of the chicane, as we do on the second two examples here. Get on the throttle just a little bit too early, you touch that grass or that wee grey strip there, it seems to be like almost an automatic spin, so you're going to see a lot of cars off the track there, I'm pretty sure. But people will learn as the week goes on. Full throttle once you come over the crest of the hill, down over the start finish line, and that's a lap of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in the Mazda Touring road car. Don't know if I said that in the right sequence. You know what I mean, it's the car that's on the screen. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. We'll definitely be live streaming it early part of the week, but we'll definitely also be live streaming the GTWS events, the Gatail Tagazu Cup at Fuji, Group 3 at Spa, and possibly the X2019 at Trial Mount. But hopefully this guide has been useful in some way, shape or form. If it has, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. Shall catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.